Hi, everybody. Sandra Pelly, the Sandini, peace provider, dragon ally, visionary of the Guide Academy. Really looking forward to this conversation with you. It's been very interesting, the dynamics of money doesn't grow on trees and how many of us have probably grown up with that phrase or something similar to it. And so I thought that I would kind of give you not necessarily my point of view, but maybe help you with a mindset shift or an energy shift around the aspect of money grows on trees. And I know it's a phrase that I definitely heard from my mom. I might have heard it from my dad as well. So this is likely generational. I imagine that my parents possibly heard it from their parents and so forth. So there's a lot of different aspects of this going on. What I'd love to do first, though, is bring us all into the same space energetically. So let's take a moment to take a breath. Close your eyes, if you will. If you're driving, please feel free to leave your eyes open, unless you're the passenger. So closing your eyes, taking a nice breath, releasing the things you that do not need to be brought into this class, just releasing or letting go of those things that you can at this moment in this space. Put them on the shelf, if you will. I've heard that terminology before, which is kind of interesting. And then feel yourself, witness yourself in this space, this sacred container, this space that's here and created for you. And feel the energy of money. It's so comical because I could feel like paper bills are like leaves right now, and it's autumn where I live. It might be autumn where you live as well. So feeling the energy of every single one of those leaves on the ground is a bill of money. Because you know what? Money does grow on trees. Paper money does grow on trees. So just feeling into the energy of all those leaves all around you, first of all, being pieces of money. Asking yourself to be open with no expectations. No limitations. Being okay with the outcome. Knowing that I am the outcome. Asking yourself to accept, trust, and believe. Asking your mind, body, and soul to witness all that money laying around. And take a picture of that in your mind's eye and tuck it into your piggy bank in your heart. And so it is. I've been playing around a lot of late in really kind of understanding my role in the phrases that I've heard, my role in the in my desire, I guess, my desire for change, my role in how I react to anything. These three phrases are really important. How do I want to react? What's my role here? Where does it come from? And I can't remember what the third one is already. It goes to show how off the cuff that was. Oh, jeepers. So, I know with 100% certainty that I heard the phrase growing up, money doesn't grow on trees. And it's not only that I heard that, it was likely the timing of when I heard that. It was when I wanted something. Money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, I want this. Money doesn't grow on trees. A parent possibly saying, oh, look what you're doing. You know, money doesn't grow on trees. So it has a couple different pieces to it. It has that I want something. I'm not allowed to have it because I don't have the money. So right away, I'm already stopping myself from what kinds of things am I stopping myself? Where is that playing out in my life? Right? We're going to swing back around to that in a moment. The other is that maybe I broke something, maybe I spilled something, and I heard the phrase money doesn't grow on trees. Of course, there's probably a lot of other words that came in with that, but we're focusing on the money doesn't grow on trees aspect of this. And really that piece is, okay, I didn't ask for something in this case, but I did something that caused this energy to come in about money again. That I did something that broke the money or stopped the money, or I misused the money. Whoa, that's a big one. I misused the money, right? So there's a lot of different pieces coming in around money, and it has a lasting effect on everything that I do in every aspect of my life, like at any age. In 2020, I remember sitting in this basement suite listening to Dee Wallace. And I've mentioned her a number of times on different things that when I've spoken about money. I did a summit called Money Matters. The Dee Wallace aspect of this is she does this video and she's standing there on a stage, a small stage, in front of like a classroom of people. And she's talking about money, and she's got an armful of money and she throws it on the floor and she goes, see, it's not doing anything. You're giving it way more energy than it actually has. It's just laying there on the ground. It's not doing anything. So when I think about the walk that I just had around and I saw all these incredible leaves on the ground, they were different colors. And for the most part, where I'm at right now, they're all maple tree leaves. So they're like this totally cool shaped leaf. But I just was really feeling the energy of all this money lying around, waiting for us to do something with it. Picture that, hey? Feel the energy of that all this money is laying around. You know, I keep hearing the phrase, you already have it. So I'm choosing to buy into that. I already have it because I'm seeing it laying around everywhere. So the learning how to access it is the important part. The learning how to shift out of this framing of mind that I've been doing for decades about money doesn't grow on trees. I can't have it because I break things. I can't have it because I don't have enough. We don't have enough to do that, right? I'm sitting here right now, even in myself, I'm decided to do something really big, a really big step in my life, and it has a huge chunk of money that's committing to on a monthly basis. And I'm internally, my energy's freaking out about it. And my heart is saying, that's my mind freaking out, right? My heart is saying, the things are falling into place, that it's a non-issue. Believe in yourself. Believe in the possibilities. Believe that the things that you're doing are going to send you in that direction. And now this can go into so many different aspects because we have, whether it's we want to purchase something for the house. Let's say we want a new kitchen table or a dining room table, two different areas of the house, right? So different types of tables, different costs, and which one may we get because we think, well, we've only got money for this one, rather than get the one you really want for the dining room, right? It's so interesting because I think of heirloom pieces. I'm not sure if I'm saying the word right. Heirloom pieces, maybe no H on that. And that's what we're doing with our lives. We're creating an heirloom. We're creating a lasting memory, a lasting aspect of ourself, a lasting energy of ourself when we think about money and how we're moving through this money story. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that because I've kind of laid down some groundwork about how we might be affected by the things that we've heard in the past. And I remember when I broke my pelvis and I was sitting on my deck, sunning, and just kind of tapping into the energy of what's all around me. I wanted to feel into the energy of what was all around me. And I was possibly listening to something. It's no longer important as to what I was listening to, but what it brought up were piles of money. So as I was laying there in the sun on the deck with my broken pelvis, I had a broken sits bone. It was a mild break. As I was laying there, I could feel the energies of this piles of money. And it was 3 piles. So this is 2016, okay? So as I'm laying there, I've got my feet out towards you guys, my head's this way. There's a pile of money down at my feet, and there's a pile of money on both sides of me, right? And as I'm speaking right now, I can actually feel the energy of a 4th pile behind me. That literally just came in as I'm speaking with you guys here. So I just want to show you the power of this, okay? So these 3 piles of money, I could feel the height of them. I could feel the power of these 3 piles of money. And every time that I thought about these piles of money, the energy of them was like it was almost like angels singing or something. Like it was just so beautiful, so very, very powerful. And I came into 2017 and I started to shift my whole world. Now, whether you're a business owner or not, I know that sometimes I talk about business, and it's easier for me in this case to express a business aspect of this, but it crosses the border and everything. So for myself, I was moving from wishing people would come to my house and pay me X amount of dollars so I could do some hands-on healing with them, to recognizing that there was a possibility of starting to branch out and speak with people in the energy of things, doing long distance healing in that, right? And it was really magical what was unfolding for myself. And through all of that, I kept imagining and picturing those 3 piles of money. And 2017 was the biggest year of spiritual growth that I had since before that. Like I had never had a year of spiritual growth like I did that year. It was crazy what unfolded for me. Like I was working with people in Mexico. I was working with people in Canada. There was people in the UK. We were talking on Zoom calls and things. And I attribute it to how I was witnessing money. That I was personally shifting my way of thinking about money. And like I just said to you, this pile of money that's just shown up behind me, that just opened up a whole new field of money spending, like give and take back and forth with this. So now let's put it to the kitchen table and the dining room table. I've been doing a lot of work with another beautiful individual too, around money mindset. And in 2022, my husband's and my daughter got married. And our modus operandi in the past would have been just to freak out all year about it and then just pay for it with a credit card and then freak out for however many years after that to try and pay back the credit card. That was how we were living our life in the past, right? Last year, though, I had a huge shift in how I was looking at money. It used to be about instant gratification. And then it became, what do I really want? I love that. Janice just wrote in the chat, I pictured your fourth pile of money as a pillow that you're resting your head on. I love it. I can feel the energy of that. Yeah. There's no hard coins. It's all paper money. It's all, you know, GICs and investments, papers, whatever it is, right? So energetically, I had shifted from instant gratification to what did I really want? Well, I knew that I wanted my husband and I to be in the position that when the wedding was done, we didn't owe any money. And being the mother of the bride, you know what that might look like. And when we came out the other side of it, we actually at the wedding, we walked in the door and talked to the bartender and said, hey, you know what? We want to throw down a $500 tab for the guests right now. We would never have comfortably done that like we did this time. So there's something very, very powerful about shifting your mindset around money. And I know this is all really short and small. I'm just doing bite-sized pieces on this. So moving away from instant gratification to what do you really want? I'm going to use another example using my life as well, is that we have 3 vehicles currently. We bought an incredible van in March that we gutted and camperized. That's our like go-to vehicle to live our life. That was something that we really, really wanted. We had to really seriously consider, how are we going to do this? And what price are we going to pay? This was a pretty big chunk of cash that we put out. And honestly, we did get a loan for it, for a good chunk of it. I'd say probably 70% of it. However, we also are looking at, okay, my husband's working this amount of time. How are we paying this back? And then moving forward into this last couple of months, my husband and I are sitting down having a conversation about, okay, what are our goals? Where do we want to be in 2 years? Do we want this debt over our head? What are we doing? Are we going to just keep, buying a meal out here and there, buying this here and there? Or are we going to really start to throw this money and, yes, nickel and dime it and get that loan paid down? And given where we're at, we are able to throw these extra pieces of change onto there. And it's making a huge difference. So now instead of 2026 December, we're looking at maybe the beginning of 2025 having that paid off. That's a huge difference in what we're doing in our lives. But it's because we're moved out of instant gratification into what do I want long term? Okay. So there's a whole bunch of things going on. I've talked about where some of our money story may have come from. And that's the things that we heard, things that we were possibly doing when we heard the things like money doesn't grow on trees, when we wanted something and we were told we couldn't have it because money doesn't grow on trees. And then the instant gratification coming into the long-term, what do I want in my life? So how do we put those pieces together? It's fine and dandy for me to go, oh, this is what happens, and this is one of the things that we can do, right? But how do those go together? How do we stop that money doesn't grow on trees from going doing, 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 doing in our head, right? I'm going to take a drink of water and let this money story flow. I'm so thankful. You know what? I am so thankful that I do the things I do like I do with you guys, because it's when I open up the floor here, it's the things that you guys relate back to me that help me to help you. And I just want you to bear that in mind. It was one of my students, it was one of my clients who actually said to me, okay, well, I know that this is happening, but how do I change it? And it was in that moment I recognized that there was a missing link. And this is coming up more and more of late, is there's these missing links. And that's what I'm here to help you with, are these missing links, just an FYI. But when this comes up, when you hear yourself stopping yourself from purchasing something, that is the moment that you do one of two things. One is, okay, is this an old money story and that's why I'm stopping myself? So there's going to be 3 steps actually. One is this my old money story and that's why I'm stopping myself? The second thing is, am I only getting this because, or if I'm going to get it, is it only because I want this instant gratification right now? Or is this something that I've been working for, thinking about long term? And then the third part of that is really feeling the energy of what you're doing. So I'm going to use a vehicle again, or maybe the dining room table. I'm going to use the dining room table. And know that I'm not in the market for a dining room table. So this is not my story. We went for the longest time without a table in our house at all because we eat at the eat sitting on the couch watching TV, my husband and I. But we did get a table because my dad comes over. So I didn't want just a plastic bowed table in our house. I looked around. So I guess I could use this as my story. We looked around and we looked around. I should say I looked around. My husband had no part of it. I looked around and I looked around and I had a very specific thing in mind, meaning that it had to be a specific size, a specific width, right? A very specific type of table in mind. And I didn't want something that was just, I'm really not a metal type of person. I love wood and texture. And bakery was going out of business. They decided they were going to sell in my town. And she was selling everything in her business. So I popped down and took a look. And as it turns out, she had narrow tables that were long but narrow, that could fit up against a window in a kitchen and still leave space for everything else. And she had handmade these, like screwed the bases on, and they were just a piece of wood, and she had textured it with hammers and all sorts of things and filled it in. It's to me, it's gorgeous. It's just a kitchen table. But in that moment, I was ready and willing to spend the money to buy it. And the reality of that is, thank goodness it was only $100. It was fairly cheap. I don't think it was even $100. I think it was quite a bit cheaper than that. I think I gave them $100 though, because I got some bowls and everything else with it. But I didn't just go buy a table. I didn't go buy the first table that came up. I waited and waited and waited until the table that I wanted, or that I had an energy connection with. That's what I'm going to say. I didn't know that I wanted that table until I energetically connected with that table. I am, if you can tell, very much about the energy of things and where do they fit in my life, in my energy. Okay. What's coming up for you guys with this? What's a money story, or what's coming up with you guys? What's coming up for you when you hear money doesn't grow on trees? What was the phrase that you guys heard growing up?
What was coming up when you were describing of that? Because of course, yeah, we didn't have money when I was growing up, and it would be my dad would say, "Go ask your mom." They'd defer, and then you got to the point you were afraid to ask because you knew it would be a no, so you just stopped, kind of downplay what you want and everything. But a story that came up when you were talking about this, which I thought was so cool. One of my friends said when her daughter was young, she had asked for something. And of course, her mom was the same old thing. We can't afford it. We don't have the money for it. And her child replied, "Well, just go to that little machine and just get the money. It just gives out all the money." So now I just picture all that money just flying out. And I thought, that's what we need more, the mentality of a young child about money, because they just saw their parents go and get money out of it.
I love that. That was extremely powerful. Wow. Yeah. So that's very similar to, like my walking around the block and seeing all the leaves on the ground. Like money does just fly out of everywhere. I love that. I'm also hearing two things with what you said too. Not being able to trust yourself because you're told to go ask somebody else. You're not being able to trust that first instinct. Like the first instinct in that moment was to ask your dad or your mom, whichever, and then they deferred to somebody else. So you're already being shown, don't trust that first instinct. So you see how deep this energy lies with this? It's so crazy. There was something
And
else you said too.
powerful it is too on you.
This learning to trust oneself around money is another whole aspect of this. So we've spoken about, and I'm just going to reiterate this again. As we're growing up, when we ask for money, we're told money doesn't grow on trees, or when we ask for something, money doesn't grow on trees. When we break something or something happens, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh my God, look what happened. We can't buy that again. It's all your fault, possibly, right? And then what Janice just brought up was super powerful, that not able to trust our first instincts with regards to money because we've asked somebody and they've deferred to somebody else, and then the answer still comes down no. So there's at least three layers of this money stuff happening there. I talked about the changing from instant gratification into what do I really want? What are my long-term goals in my life? And then how do we bring those together? So in that moment, now when Janice goes to buy something, she's got this hurdle, first of all, of who do I ask? Is that correct? Am I putting words into your mouth here?
Well, right now I'm on my own, so I don't have anybody to ask except myself. But you're right, I doubt my own authority. Yeah, you want to get a verification or from someone else.
That what you just said is exactly what I meant. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for putting it into words. We don't trust our own authority and we want verification. And you know what? We'll do this with many, many, many aspects of our life, even like a Facebook post. We love putting a Facebook post on and people will respond to it. That means I'm now the authority and I've gotten all kinds of verification. But when nobody responds to that post, you're like, oh, right? You get this feeling. And that's the same thing with this money story. That was really good. Thank you, Janice, for putting that into words. My goal in my life was to become the authority, was to be able to trust my judgment, was to be able to move out of the instant gratification into the long-term goals. My life has turned around immensely in the last 3 years because of this. There are deeper layers to this. In fact, I run a program that's 6 or 7 weeks that's all about going and looking at your inner child and your little you with regards to how do we find these limiting beliefs. I use the chakras in that. How are you changing your money story, or what money story is coming up for you? Where are you finding it right now today? Where is it coming up? Like what's been going on in your world that put you into this, wanted to hear this story, wanted to hear the class? What brought you here? What do you want to change? Go ahead, Jen.
I'm thinking sometimes now when I'm pondering over a purchase, the phrase that'll kind of come up is, I'm worth it. So I deserve to have it. And that's how I sort of, the rationale to then purchase it. But yeah, it's an internal struggle there to get over that. The other thing I'll sort of use sometimes too is if there's something I really want, just believe that the money will come in for it, that it's there and it will come in. Something did happen one time because I was really pondering over, and stuff. And then I decided, no, I'm going for it. I'm worth it. And I went to the mailbox and there was a check, a rebate check from something for the exact amount of that class. And I was like, wow.
I love what you just said, because recently, and I was saying this to my husband because it's so comical. So recently I was reading a book, a country western book, and the main female character in there is named Sassy. Well, I don't think it was a day went by and I saw somebody's name that was Sassy in a TV show. And then I did something else And immediately something else came up that was exactly the same. Like, it was just like these synchronicities are happening so rapidly. It's crazy. Like, it's really crazy. And I had like this happen like 5 or 6 times in about 2 week span. And the other day I was sitting in the vehicle with my husband, and it happened again. We said something and it immediately happened. And I turned to him, I said, you know what? Given what's happening, I'm going to tell you right now, I see lots and lots of money coming in. Because if the synchronicities are happening with all that, it's got to happen with that too. Right?
And I pictured all the leaves. Like I have a Schubert choke cherry that's a beautiful reddish color, and it is just dropping its leaves now. And there's a whole pile around, and I keep looking at it, how beautiful. So right away I'm thinking, wow, I've got lots of money around here. I'm surrounded by it because the whole tree was wrapped like a perfect circle around this tree with all that money or leaves.
Exactly. So there's another aspect coming up too, and it's that energy that I spoke of we are being told by some arenas, by some people, by some others, that what we want we actually already have. So if we think that we're rich, we actually already have that, even though we're sitting in the reality that we're not rich. What Janice just brought up too was really interesting, because it's like not necessarily moving into that I'm worth it, but knowing that the money's there. That when we step into that energy, right? So there's this beautiful fine line that's in the sand that, okay, I know the money's there. I'm going to go out and spend $1 million on this boat. But the reality is there'll never be $1 million for a boat, because personally, I don't think I'll ever buy a boat. If I said something about a mountain biking retreat, that would have been more in alignment with me. But I think that what I just said is so very important, because when we're in alignment with these things, that's really important. It's also really recognizing that, what do I want? Like, Janice has a beautiful home. She's a single person in that home. She's the single provider. She's got to be consciously aware of where the funds are coming from, but also to having trust that the funds are coming in, whatever the case is. Really understanding what you want. I'm going to go jump ahead again to that what do you want in your life, right? So like for my husband and I, we know that the way we're living right now is not the end goal. We know where we live is not the end goal, or what we're living in is not the end goal. So getting clear on what you want in the future is extremely important. Maria's with us. She lived in the same town as I did. And when they got to where they were really recognizing that it was to their benefit to go somewhere because of one of their jobs, they chose their method of how they were going to live. And it worked. It got them to where they needed to go. And from there, they started to think about and vision and dream about what was the next steps in their lives. And now they have a home that's different from what they moved to. They've got another type of home. So really understanding where you want to go is so very, very important. Because we are such a throwaway society. So thinking about where you're putting your money, and you know what, I would love to come to you and talk to you guys about investments and all these things, but I personally am not even near there. But I know where I'm going energetically with my world, my life. And I'm holding on to that energy. I got possibly the same rebate that Janice got. In Canada here, we got rebates recently, climate action or something like that. And I love that we have at least 4 Canadians on here right now. And you know what I did with that money? I did not go take my husband out for supper. I literally went and I put it on our Sprinter van loan, because we want to get that loan down. That was my priority. And we also had 2 other chunks of money coming in. We actually managed to put, instead of a $400 payment, we made a $2,100 payment on that van, because we want to get it done and out of the way. So prioritizing what you're doing with your money is so important. And all of that, like guys, can you feel how the energy has kind of shifted in the call too? Like we're all feeling a little bit differently about where are we going with our money. So when you think of like me, I have those three, now four piles of money. I go out for my walk and I'm seeing all the leaves on the ground. I'm feeling all the energy of money around. I am energetically shifting into matching the frequency and the energy of where do I want to go. It's not necessarily, oh, I need this money, how am I going to get this money? It's this energy of I know the direction that I want to go, and that's changing the energy of how the money is being used.
A lot of stuff comes up when we start thinking about this. Of course, we go back to generations as to how our parents lived, our grandparents, how they really had to save and penny pinch and remake the clothes 2, 3 times over to make them fit and work. From grandpa's coat to the son's a blazer, and then into something else, a vest, or something else for even younger generation. Like it just kept getting remade and remade because it was good quality. I just find the attitude towards everything has changed so much. Yeah, we remember those days. My parents grew up during the Depression, the Second World War anyway, and then through Depression and whatnot. So that really shaped what you do and how you treat your money and how you teach your kids their own. Lately, I'm just finding so many things have shifted. The world has shifted. There's currency we don't even understand. When you get into Bitcoin and blockchain, it's hard to step onto that platform when you don't know anything about it. B, we can't afford to risk everything because we haven't got another 50 years or 40 years. You're right. I mean, money doesn't grow on trees. So I've started this trip and just understanding how stuff that you need to book gets changed. And the same goes for concert tickets or Uber and rides or whatever. The more the demand goes up, the more the price goes up. So I'm thinking if a hotel room is $120 on, September the 1st or November the 1st, whatever, but I didn't book it in September. The closer you get to the date, if the hotel gets fuller, like that $100 room is now $420. It may be the second last room of that kind, but who cares? It's still the same freaking room. Why? Because somebody booked it 3 months ago, should they get like a 400% discount? Is that how businesses are run these days? It's hard to wrap my head around. So there is no price on anything. It's a free market. It's whoever wants to charge whatever, whenever. This trip and booking stuff has really made me feel, I mean, if we want to do things, if we want to have freedom to get out and do things, then our attitude towards that has to change. And I'm sort of coming to terms with it. And it's like, well, so what? Maybe we spend more now and we don't have it later. But, it's like things are going the way they are. What are my needs going to be like in another 10 or 20 years? By the time I'm 90, well, maybe I won't want to travel. The should have is going to come into the conversation. But there's so many other places where I want to go. And it's like, well, you got to work and you stay at home and you keep making money to pay. Well, you buy a house, you have to pay the mortgage. Kids today, they just like, oh my God, they're whipping off to Machu Picchu, taking the hike or taking a bus and staying in luxury hotels and taking cruises. They do not realize they have to save for their kids' education. It's so hard for me to get my head around this. It's a new world in so many ways, a new age and new way of thinking. And I am finding it very difficult. It's a huge shift because of where we've come.
Can I speak to a few of these things?
Yeah, I know it's energy. I know I have to change the energy. I get to change.
Yeah, I'm going to swing back to mid-conversation where I heard you say, you're right, money doesn't grow on trees. You'll note that the name of this email that's been spouting about this is money does grow on trees. So I just want you to recognize your phrase, first of all. Secondly, I witnessed the same thing with my daughter's wedding. I actually I pre-booked our rooms in, I think it was February for the September wedding. It was a location wedding. If nobody knows what a location wedding is, it means that it's not in a hometown. It means you got to go away and you got to spend money on a hotel and food, etc. So it was a location wedding. So that room was $120, comically enough, $160 a night, actually. As we got closer, someone else wanted to come. And when I went to go book, now rooms are now $240, $280. So I totally get where you're coming from. So there is something very powerful about having that knowledge when you go to look at something. This was my daughter's wedding. We booked the rooms in February for the September wedding. I now had all these months to save that money for that. So there's something very powerful about, again, forward thinking, knowing what you want in the future. And yes, things are going to come up that are imminent. Like something came up and you want to go do this, like Barb is right now on this weekend away, or for November 1st, right? Well, now we don't have the time per se to save, but if you have been thinking possibly about long-term, what do I want to do with this money? The money that you might have possibly been started to have. I mean, it's amazing what you can do if you even just start saving $25 a check, right? And I'm not really here to say save money this way, save money that way. It's more about the mindset. You may think you have absolutely no money to do anything with because it's all gone. And it's all gone because we're instant gratification. We're spending it on instant gratification, and we don't even recognize that we're doing that. So when we take that step back, shift and take a step back and look at where we want to go, then we can be more proactive. I mean, I can go off on a tangent on all kinds of different ways to do that. Like, you need a budget is incredible. They help you to save a month ahead. I'm not at that point. I've been in there for almost 2 years, but man, my mindset has totally changed. I can direct you to different places to listen to these people talk. But the thing is you have to understand where you're coming in at this. And when you're working with that other energy of somebody else, like the husband, I totally get that. You know, I have sat down with my husband. In fact, when I made the decision to do this huge deal that I'm doing coming up, and when I say a huge deal, I mean it's a huge deal to me. It's not like a book deal or something like that. It's just a big deal to me. I actually spoke to my husband about it. And it was more because in that space, I thought that I would have to be using what would technically be phrased as our money or his money. As it turns out, I stepped into doing it in a different manner. Instead of paying whole, I went monthly, and I was able to use my own money. And when I say own money, I mean my money from my business kind of thing. So there's when I first started to talk to him about this, there was no way on earth I was even going to tell him the price. Because right there's people shutting down energetically because as soon as they find out the price, right? They're only looking at the money. I would love for you guys to really start to recognize what is the outcome.
It's funny how you say that, because you know what I'm doing, and it's like this came up in the spring. So I myself personally made a commitment to myself that this is something I wanted to do. My birthday next month, and I thought, okay, I'm doing this, and it took me a while. How do I even approach going back to the asking? And I couldn't just book it on my own. You know, it's a big ticket item, and he always comes around. But it's funny, you said the energy of planning that, having that goal, having that vision. So I kept saying, well, why don't we make this a holiday for us? It's not just about me. Do you want to come? I don't know. I mean, there's lots of stuff to do wherever you go. I mean, this place is going to be a hiking mecca. And that's what we like to do. So I finally sent him an email, and because the time was ticking on, I wanted to book. And even when he finally said, oh, yeah, okay, I'm already down to the last month's changes. Well, guess what? The availability isn't always there. And when especially when you're only booking a month out, it's the energy of that where he just hasn't come around to it. I think we're going to have a chat about this, but he just didn't have the energy to see it happening. Like, he just kept leaving it. So, I mean, I really got upset at one point because I thought it's that energy of he doesn't think we have the money. And so he holds back and just, and then finally at the last minute, well, okay.
I want to speak to a couple things here. One, the energy of what you're saying is exactly what Janice said about I asked one person and they deferred to another. It's like you
Yep.
you feel you do not have the authority to make the decision. Okay, so I just want to give you a
I
life.
was trying to include them.
I
So-
understand that. I've done this twice
Like
now. So there's a whole bunch of different energy coming up, and this is why I'm talking about this, you guys, is that
Yeah.
we can't heal the world or heal these answers all here today. I will tell you that there is a next step, which some of you have already done once, but you're more than welcome to jump into it again, and I'll talk to you about that. And that's that Chase the Dragonfly. It's growing with your little you, growing with your inner child. From my experience, I decided that I wanted to go away to a conference in the States in 2019. And that was in March that it was. And I knew about the conference in November. And what I did was I started to figure out my flight there, first of all. Okay. And I actually did it on air miles. And I think it cost me like $70 to fly to California. It was like crazy how cheap it was. So then like we can figure this out. I'm just going to lay down the dynamics of this so that you guys can understand just how we got to shift our thinking. So I did air miles, $70 for the flight. I got there, I needed to rent a vehicle, right? Well, once I knew I needed to rent a vehicle, I knew that I wasn't the only person going to that conference. And I had access to all those people in this Facebook group. So I put a post out saying, hey, I'm renting a vehicle. Who needs a ride from the airport? This is how much it costs each direction. I know the case is different for you in this with regards to what you're doing, Barb, but this is just kind of like an example. I ended up, I think I was $40 ahead on the car rent. Okay. And then also too, I'm familiar with something called Warm Showers. It is a group online that you can become a member of. And in becoming a member, you now have access to people's homes who will give you a bed and a room, and you don't have to actually pay to go and stay at these people's place. And that's what I did in Santa Cruz, California. You guys should have seen my room and view. It was intense. And I didn't pay anything for it. So these are the little things that we can do. Okay. So now jump ahead to the retreat that I went to in. So let me back step. Where I was in 2019 was very much at the beginning of my really understanding that I wanted to make changes in my life. So I'm just like where you guys likely are right now. Okay. Understanding that there's something changing and I need to start to shift my mindset, start to change things. So that's what happened in 2019. In March, when I came back from that conference, things exploded, meaning that I came back and I was like filled with great ideas on what I wanted to do. And my husband said to me, man, it would be really cool if this could happen, da, 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 da. Well, it literally happened 2 months later. That's how quickly it manifested itself. Okay. So once we start to take care of ourselves, everything else starts to fall into place. Second thing that I did was when I decided I wanted to go to this actual retreat, not a conference, but a retreat, taking care of me, my spiritual needs. I started to figure out how was I going to do this. And I basically told my husband, I am going here. This is what I'm doing. What does this look like for you? Do you want to make this into a mountain biking trip or something like that? Because if that's the case, I'll start to figure out the dynamics of it. I'm going anyway. I'm going to look at what it costs for me to fly down there, and I'm going to look at what it costs for me to drive down there. And one of us can do the other, because we can't both go at the same time. Because I'm going to a conference, it's a week long, and we want time together. So there's no point in you wasting your time because he's still working. There was no point in him coming down and having a week off work where I wasn't going to do stuff with him, because we like to do stuff together. It wasn't about me being greedy. Honestly, it wasn't. So he decided he was going to come down and take the week off after, and we would mountain bike together. So I drove down and he flew down. We drove home together. And we had to camperize a van, so that kind of changes the dynamics. But you guys tent, so you know what some of the dynamics of this could work around with. So you notice what I said, though, is I decided I wanted to go to a conference. I decided I wanted to go to retreat. I knew what the possibilities were for my life. Let's see how this works with the two of us from there. I love too that you brought up that we spoke about this in the Dragon Wheel this morning, you guys. It's this, I spoke about Martin Luther King's speech, and he mentions men multiple times in his speech, his famous speech. He doesn't mention people and he doesn't mention women. He mentions men. Men are making the decisions. Men are doing this. Men are doing that, right? We are shifting out of the energy of that. We are people. This is another whole aspect of this. Like Janice has to ask herself, but her feminine and masculine side are fighting with each other, possibly. I want to do this. Do we have the money? Right? We've been trained for eons, eras, lifetimes that we don't have a role in the decision making to begin with. I'm breaking that norm in my life. And I'm telling you, I'm going to come back to this point of saying that to my husband that I want to really step into the energy of doing this. I don't want to tell you what the price of it is. What I want to tell you, though, is that this truly has the potential. And I got extremely emotional at the time, and I hate getting emotional about it, but it's like when we are really caught up in the energy of the possibilities, we do get emotional. And so I had to bring myself back under control. And I said, this has the possibility to bring you home from work in a year. And not only bring you home from work in a year, but change our life entirely. And if I keep stepping into the energy of that, and I'm so glad that I voiced that first, because then we're going through the day and I said, well, I haven't done anything yet. I know I'm doing it. I know I'm doing it. I know I want to do this because I know where I'm at. I've got all the things finally in place in my world, in my business world, in my spiritual world, that I am ready to do this step. Okay. So that's really important what I just said there too. I hope you guys caught that. So when he finally did ask the price and heard that it was 6,000 American paid in full, I didn't go that way. I went the 600 a month instead, which actually is 840. And now I'm paying 13 payments of that, which is like now close to 10 or 11,000, not 8,400. When he heard that price, he shut down. But you know what? He shut down for this amount of time instead of days and weeks. Probably in about 2 hours time, he was out doing stuff in the yard. He was doing stuff in his man cave, et cetera, et cetera. I felt a noticeable energetic change in him. And I also told him that I decided I would go monthly. And he doesn't even know that I spent my money, my business money on it. But his energy has shifted into, okay, I'm accepting this for whatever it is, and we'll see. And the thing is now I need to trust me and my role in this. I need to be my authority in this. And I want to do the things that are going to prove to myself that this was the right move. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that it is really scary sitting here right now, knowing that I have to put out 1,000 Canadian on a monthly basis for the next 12 months. However, having said that, I can tell you with 100% certainty that in 2021, I was paying out $550 a month Canadian, almost $600 a month Canadian for a Facebook ads coach. And that year in my life was so incredible. The amount of money that I personally made in that year in my life, in my business, was incredible. In my standards of where my life was. I'm going bigger. But you know what I did? I started to trust myself. I chose to start to step into what I wanted. Because like Janice said, thinking about the money's there, that's the way I have to think of it. That's the way I need to energetically sit in that energy of that. So money does grow on trees.
I just would say, like, if we don't do that, then we never do anything. Because we're always waiting until, and we know what that does. And when you don't have that energetic goal, that specific goal to do it, you know, it just never happens. Like, it doesn't come around if we don't set our mind to doing it, as opposed to waiting until we have this in order to. More so that, but it's funny how so many people want you to join on their program, and it's like, you know, I got a pretty full plate. It's some people, they just pull out all these sales tactics, but I'm getting better at that. I just have some other priorities that I'm focusing on, and this is one of them. I do feel that this is a better place for me than some of these other programs. And
there's a couple more things coming up here. One is
I don't mean to take over the whole place.
No, and that's fine. That's why I'm attempting to be gracious in my interrupting you. So thank you for your patience, Barb.
Thank you.
No, it's just that you're bringing up some really valid points here that I think is overall, we are all hearing what you're saying. And I want to reflect it back to you too, so that you can hear what you're saying as well, so that you can also know where to learn from as well too, if there's learning that you would like to have from there. You are very aware of where you want to grow, not G-O, but G-R-O-W. You are very consciously aware that you want to grow. So you are like, it's amazing. Your footsteps and mine are just so similar. It's like crazy. Like you heard what I said about the conference and the retreat and this and that. Like everything is just so similar. The amount of biking, etc. Knowing what you personally need. It all comes down to, what do I need? Everything we do in life, we need to look at, what do I need? And when you get clear on that, you are picking out where you need to be, like what you were doing. And I know exactly where you are when it comes to me. So what you were doing, like, power move for you. Power move. Going and doing this other item, power move. When you have people going, okay, what? Can you explain it to me? Best thing to say is, you know what? I'm figuring out who I am. I'm doing personal growth. I'm just working on personal growth. They don't need to know that angels and dragons, I was going to say donkeys. There's donkey energy coming up, Barb. Look it up. I don't know if that means something to you, but look up the donkey energy. Yeah, beast of burden, definitely something there energetically. But yeah, there's that. What are you carrying? Thank you, guys. What are you carrying? Whose energy are you carrying around that you don't need to be carrying around with regards to the things that you're deciding for yourself? Because I wanted you guys to be really clear about this. Just because I'm making decisions that really super impact me, we have to remember this ripple effect that's happening. That's a positive ripple effect. We're really being asked to step away from the money things of it. Money doesn't necessarily make the world go round. I mean, it helps our life. We get to do things in different ways. But you know what? When you start to decide where you are in your life, that changes everything. A very strong symbolic animal that represents the spirit of hard work, good manners, and determination. So that's why donkey is coming up. Although a donkey is often seen as an unintelligent animal, this notion is wrong. So whatever energy you're possibly feeling when you're approaching somebody else to ask for money, or not necessarily ask for money, but to ask if they want to do something or whatever, drop that energy of what their beliefs are, because we don't ultimately know what their beliefs are, what their way of thinking are. Even if we've been married, I'm going to be married 40 years coming up here. I tell you, he still surprises me. Ultimately, you only know what you are capable of. So step into the energy. That's what Donkey's there to show you. Donkey's showing you to be determined, to recognize yourself in that. Okay. Donkey is one of the smartest animals in the world with an EQ, or emotional quotient. EQ stands for that. That's interesting. It's higher than gorillas, chimpanzees, and dogs. Holy cow, didn't know that. Indeed, this stubborn but kind-hearted animal has many positive meanings. Let's find out the symbolism. Self-awareness, honesty, simplicity, and integrity. The donkey is also a symbol of work, humility, diligence, courage, and truth. When we turn inside and look at ourselves and what we personally want to have happen in our own lives, the growth that we want in our own lives, the other things are going to fall into place. And I can't sit here and say, I guarantee you that, but I know from personal experience that that's pretty well the way it unfolds. Because I've been taking care of myself, and my husband and my life has changed dramatically. And now when I say I've been taking care of myself, I don't mean that, oh, I'm having tenderloin and he gets a hamburger. That's not what I mean. What I truly mean is that when I am aware of the things that hurt me, when I am aware of the things that make me feel good, when I am aware of my thoughts, when I am aware of my limiting beliefs and expectations, my life has changed dramatically. And dramatically is almost like the wrong word, because it sounds like dramatic. When we talk about drama, we think about the drama queen. It hasn't been dramatic. Yes, there's been things that have happened in my life that have been dramatic, for sure, because I'm human. But overall, where I am energetically now, I'm blown away. I'm blown away. And for those of you who were on the beginning of the call, my shifting out of saying inner peace mentor to peace provider is a powerful claiming of who I am. That inner peace mentor was who I needed to be for myself. And that is something I hold very dearly in my heart. And now I am the peace provider for you guys. And by peace provider, I'm the one here that's going to show you the steps to get what you don't even know you want right now. And that's I say that with truth and honesty. I do know that it can be fairly simple. It can be fairly simple. Our human mind makes it difficult. And by simple, I mean, we know that we have a limiting belief around money. Changing how we're talking about it, being aware of it, is already changing our money story. Barb showed that by saying back to me, you're right, money doesn't grow on trees. And I reflected back to her, but yeah, it does. Money actually does grow on trees. It's made from paper. Paper comes from a tree. So money actually does grow on trees. Okay, guys? That when I was creating this, that title, when I created that title, that's exactly, and that's why that picture is of money leaves, right? I do want you to know that if what I'm talking about, I know some of you are already intimately working with me, but for those of you who aren't, Chasing the Dragonfly, also known as Growing Up with Your Inner Child, is an incredible program, a 6-7 week program, has the ability to really help you find those limiting beliefs and expectations and move out of it and into a different way of thinking. And some of you have already participated in that. There is a special price for those who have already participated. And if you're interested and you haven't participated, there's an introductory price because I'm still in the beta movement of this and it's evolving. It's getting, it's kind of cool. And the people who went through it the first time, wow, it was just remarkable. All of our girls going through that. Again, what's coming up for you guys in the energy of this money? Any more questions about it? Anything that you really want some clarity on with regards to your money story? And I'm going to say one more thing before anybody jumps on. Barb said something about the timing of things, that she's doing something and she wishes that this had, it was kind of flipped in the reverse of that. Know that there's a purpose behind that. These things are divinely put in your pathway, the way they are, with reason. Okay. And Barb, on a private call, you and I went into that a little bit more deeply. And that's what I'm working with in the Dragon Wheel, as you guys who are in the Dragon Wheel are well aware of. It's not cliche, and I'm going to say it. I do see the incredible you in you. I want you to see the incredible you in you. It's the truth. I see how incredible each one of you can be. I can provide you with the steps to really delve deep into who that is and how to get to that incredible place of where you feel that peace inside. Okay. There was a reason why I said that. The timing of the things, they're to bring your awareness to it. The conversation I had with Barb, it was to help her put herself into a beautiful mindset of who she is when she goes to that retreat, when she goes to that function. Instead of going in this way, she's now going in with this empowered way of thinking, which totally is going to change the whole outcome of that. So the timing was beautiful. In my mind, the timing was perfect. Because that's a one-off right now. The thing that you're in with me, it's the type of thing that it comes up every 3 months. You can decide each 3 months if you want to go in again. And you will evolve even more every time that you do. And that's something that's separate from the Chase the Dragonfly, growing with your inner child, just an FYI, everybody. So know that the timing was right for you to do the things the way you did. Okay, Barb? Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about what you're feeling in this moment or with money? Do you feel different about money than you did at the start of the call?
Maybe I'll hop on because I've felt a bit of resistance maybe, and maybe talking it through will help. My first thoughts were maybe it was an age difference for me because of where I am in life, and my youngest just went into kindergarten, so I'm looking at getting into the workforce, and I'm not liking the options that are available to me because I feel like I'm more valuable than what they want to pay me. And just trying to put dollar amounts on the type of skills that I have that the corporate world doesn't value me for, So I don't know. It really spoke to me what you said, Sandra, about that course and your husband, because for one, I'm in the similar spot. I would love to be enrolled in a lot of these courses. I know the benefits it would bring me. But I know bringing that dollar amount to my husband would be a brick wall. It's a no. So yeah, I'm just kind of energetically trying to feel my way, I guess, around those blocks and what that looks like when, yeah, I guess I have to feel like I deserve that, or like I don't know. I can't find my clear path around that obstacle. Like for you, it's a little different because you have a business and you have an income, and I'm really at ground zero, and that mountain looks so big for me to climb.
Okay. And this is beautiful. I'm so glad you brought this up because it comes right back to what some of the underlying theme is here, is we are approaching life like it's about money. Life isn't about money. our life is about life. So when we're approaching somebody else about something that's going to make a huge change in our life, the worst thing that we can do is go, hey, I found something that costs X amount of dollars, and this is what I'm going to do to my life. Because they're not hearing that second part. It's almost like it's like, when you say, I've had a magical, wonderful day, but they're not going to hear this is, but they're also already downsizing what the magical, wonderful day is because you use the word but. So how we approach anything, and it's not like we're trying to lie or scheme or be secretive. I'm asking you, Maria, to start to look at, I could get very emotional about this, I'll tell you up front, because I can feel the desire that you have to do something that brings up the power in you. And believe me, I've been in the same position as you of having been ground zero. And I'm really not that far different from you in this moment. I'm going to tell you that right up front, okay? So really understanding what I want in life, really understanding what you want in life, Maria, is so very, very critical. And in fact, you have in the past literally gone to your husband and said, you know what, there's something that's going to make a big difference in my life. And then when the monetary side of that came up, you spoke to him about it, and it ended up, look at where you personally are right now versus where you guys were before. So you have practical examples to show him on one hand. I just want to bring that clear to you, okay? This isn't a pitch for Sandra's programs, by the way. This is a pitch for Maria finding what she needs in her life. Okay? Again, really getting clear on what you want. You know what? You're not sitting around at home watching. I'm going to use Days of Our Lives. I've never watched the show in my life, but using Days of Our Lives as an example. You're not sitting at home watching Days of Our Lives and the husband gets home and the dishes are not done. Nobody's fed. The house is a pigsty. That's not what's happening. You are energetically doing things in the best manner that you can, given we're coming off of summer and into September, October. You're recognizing the space that you have to do something else now, because now the kids, all three of them are in school full time. Is that correct? Yeah. So all the kids are home, are at school full time versus what your summer looked like. So you know that you have this space to actively do something that's going to better yourself, which ultimately is going to better the entire family. Believe me, it wasn't an easy decision for me to walk away from doing janitorial work, which was $20 an hour, but I was out on back roads driving for return maybe 2 or 3 hours and working for an hour, but getting paid for all that time. It was like a heaven job, right? It took a lot of courage for me to go, okay, I'm done with this, because I can sit down and in one class make X amount of dollars now. And energetically, that's what I feel coming from you, that you aren't, that you're a round peg that people want to put in a square hole and it's not working, that you aren't for corporate world per se. I think corporate world is kind of starting to change. I'm hoping it is on a bigger scheme, because more people are starting to understand that they are so important. So it's finding the things that really work to move you forward, so you know what your power is. And I really want you to recognize that you are doing some of those steps. You know that. I mean, where's my book? Where's my book? Where's my book? If I may, Maria, the Star Princess.
I never got to delve into that in the group, but when it popped up for me, it felt at first maybe juvenile, but I thought, like, that's perfect, because I feel I have a purpose, but I'm not, the timing is huge. I'm learning my lessons. I'm getting my training. I'm learning poise and grace to make it through the tough stuff. Like, not a queen yet. I'm getting there.
Well, and I love this. And you know what? I mean, by no means that I want this call to go on and on and on. And this is really important, though. This is really important. What you're talking about is so very important. As you discover, and I'm going to use you as a primary example right here, Maria, when you choose that you're going to step into that name, when you're going to step into the energy of that, it is so powerful what could occur for you. Okay. And it is going to open up doors, like already energetically. I know a little bit about you because we've hung out energetically. You've been in my house. I've been sitting beside you in different places. We've gone to different things together. And what I know of you is you are such a beautiful, compassionate woman who is looking after herself. I mean, look at what you've done for your health over the last year and a half. When I get on calls that we're both in that has to do with astrology, I'm blown away because you are just like so tapped in and you know that stuff. So the Star Princess, there's no mistake why that popped in for you energetically. Okay. Well, that opens up so many doors, but you don't know what doors and you don't know how to get into there. And I'm going to do a little shot on myself right here. That's why I'm here. So I'm not saying again, you need to jump into my stuff. You've known me long enough and you know what I can do for you and what we can do for each other, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm saying is that continue to explore what the Star Princess is. Don't drop that out of your existence and think you need to be shaving down the sides of yourself to fit in that square hole. Get more proactive on what you want. And when things start to drop in, because they will, because you've gotten proactive on what you want, that is the time where you can start to go, okay, well, I'm recognizing a conversation is getting closer to being had with my husband. What are the important points that I need to bring up? I don't need to look at the money amount. I need to look at what are the important points that need to be brought up. And this comes right back down to too. Then I need to start looking at my life at what am I looking at where I'm totally instant gratification? And what am I looking at in my life that I actually want? And I'm going to start to curb that instant gratification. Because I know for myself that I've gotten to the point now where when we don't go out and eat, I recognize where that money's going instead. And I'm not saying you're going out to eat or anything like that. I'm just using that as my example. Right. Yeah. And I know that there's some things going on, meaning where you live. Like I know the dynamics of where you live. And that's one of the, I mean, I want to stop and see you. I've driven by you how many times? But it's not like, oh, it's just a little blip here. It's not even really that significant, but it's not in the what's the word I want to use here? You have chosen to live off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Hear my words. Hear those words. You've chosen to live off the beaten path. So you don't need to be on the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that. You can feel that in the energy of who you want to be. So step into the energy of being that Star Princess. And okay, what are my qualities here? You know, we had such an incredible call somewhere, I can't remember where it was, around a job application and how that fell through. And then your energy as a result of that, because you really totally recognize that even though that you had thought you really wanted that,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, when it came down to it, right? That's not what you wanted. So really start to recognize yourself. I'm ultimately, you guys, I keep coming back to who are you in all this, right? When you start to prioritize that, that's important.
I just had a little thought come up and I thought you might enjoy it was feeling the energy. And I thought, I think my money tree's growing.
I love it. Yes, don't think it now, know it. Okay, anybody else have any questions or any comments about their money stories? That was very, very impactful. Thank you, Maria. Otherwise, takeaways today.
The one I wrote down was trust yourself to step into what you want.
I think it's that one. My money tree's growing. I'm gonna love my little money tree. I'm gonna feed it.
Make that a big oak or a big willow.
Yeah.
Love it. Barb, what about yourself? What's your takeaway today?
Bring it into the heart, and the love can only flow out
Beautiful.
and expand from there.
Thank you, Laura. Or thank you, Barb. I mean,
Yep.
Laura has been here all along. If you have any comments or whatever, please feel free to share them. My takeaway is shifting my mindset. Beautiful. Exactly. Thank you, Laura. Okay, guys, I'm going to wind it up here. Know that there are definitely more opportunities to work with me, and I would love to talk to some of you more in depth for sure. Okay. Love you guys. Take care.